Brett, I hear we're going up against the season finale of Dallas tonight. So how crazy is that?
Yeah, I know, right? Apparently premieres, finales, whatever.
Yeah,
We've
it's a
got all kind of
premiere.
stuff going on tonight with television.
It's like a 2 hour premiere tonight of one of those TV shows. Anyway, I'm sorry I reminded you of that just now. I got 34 degrees here in downtown Fort Payne, Alabama, way up here in DeKalb County. It is cold. There's a freeze warning in effect for parts of Alabama and Georgia tonight. We're going to see some cold temperatures into the south, the deep south, Brett. And then we've got a pending sort of snow event. I don't know if I'd call it I guess a couple of inches out in Oklahoma considered a storm?
I mean, if it's impacting the metro areas, an inch of snow in Oklahoma City at rush hour is a problem. I think the snow there in the OKC area, if it starts, really kind of gets going tomorrow during the daytime hours. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. They're going to get their, I guess this would be their second snow of the season. They actually had
Yeah.
dusting to an inch the other night.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that in the swath that went all the way up, included a little bit of Arkansas, didn't it? Up into the mountains, up into the northern Ouachitas and just south of Table Rock Lake area there.
It did. We actually had, I believe that was yesterday morning, they dealt with
Hmm.
some of that and moved off a little clipper type system, moved off to the northeast pretty rapidly. They had some snow over Indiana and Ohio and even portions of the Great Lakes from some of that, but that's long gone now. And this is a new system that's going to dive down in the Rockies.
So let's talk about it. We went through a stretch there where we had a lot going on, Brett. We went from severe weather back into Texas, back over to another tropical situation where we just barely went hurricane before landfall, and I'm not sure of anything tropical that's going to swipe us just yet. We still have several days left of that, but we're back to talking about now a little bit of winter that's showing up into the middle U.S. Any chance for that to be severe? I didn't see any kind of risk, I don't think, as marginal, kind of.
Yeah, it's marginal down along the immediate coast. It looks like the instability gets held just off of coastal sections of Texas and Louisiana, which is a great thing. Texas dealt with, some tornadoes about 8, 9 days ago. We were there for that. Then we were there for that pesky thing, Nicole, that you were talking about down along
Yeah.
the Florida coast. And believe it or not, Nicole is still a thing. Not really a named system anymore or extra tropical, but Nicole's kind of skirting up past Nova Scotia, Newfoundland now, and the frontal boundary associated that did all that pushed it out of the way. There's still some shower and storm activity down around Port St. Lucie and West Palm from that.
Yeah, some of it's still hanging back there, kind of tough. We sort of thought it might, but in this form is all right as long as we're not having severe weather. We did have some tornadoes that ended up coming into eastern sections of the Carolinas, even into Virginia there for a little while. So it affected many, many states in many different ways, other than, I don't think. Do you know? I mean, I never really saw a really high wind. I saw 66 miles per hour there just near Merritt Island, just outside of Cape Canaveral. Was there anything remotely near hurricane strength?
Yeah, actually, there were some gusts up into the 80s up near
Get
the,
out.
the rocket there. Yeah, there were some
Really?
gusts up there. Let me give me a minute to find those because it's going to take me a
Well,
second.
you don't
But
have to now, but
yeah,
um, we'll get into that and talk about some of that. Let's get into the forecast here too, and then Brett, you can do that as well. But right now we're looking. I just wanted to show you a little bit. I love satellite images, and this is the CONUS, if you will. We're looking at the continental United States here, all the way down to the Yucatan Peninsula, and I just love this image from much of the first half of the day today that shows you cold air coming down across the northern Gulf of Mexico and then dipping into the warm waters of the Gulf, which causes these striations. Check them out. That is the weirdest. Looks like a rake went through there.
yeah, those are pretty awesome, indicative of that frontal boundary. You can see that slope down there to the south of it. You got thicker cloud cover, and you got those wispy northerly and northeasterly winds that are causing those southerly moving clouds. There, you got some winds aloft over top of that out of the west southwest, and makes for a really cool scene on satellite.
That is so weird. I've always loved to see those. See them a lot out in the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, and sometimes out over the Carolinas. You'll see that too, but they're just incredible right there. I drew an era where I was earlier in the day today, but now, so what we're looking at basically here's clear skies across the rest of the southeastern United States through the day today. We ended up with a lot of sunshine across the south, but it was a cold, chilly day, and now that we've gone Clear tonight, and the wind's letting up a bit. We're going to see those temperatures fall right on down to the dew point levels, down into the upper 20s and low 30s. Not the first time we've done so, but certainly it is a cold night tonight. I had to bring the chicken in an hour earlier. Winter weather advisories in effect there across western sections of Oklahoma, Dodge City, Kansas, and I think some of it's already started over there near Santa Fe.
Yeah, starting to see that system dig out of the Rockies there, the Four Corners region. So you're starting to see some precipitation there ongoing, and you could see that that's going to continue and spread down in the southern plain states as that system really starts to get going. Dodge City, Amarillo, all the way into Oklahoma City. It looks like going to get some snow accumulation out of this.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I buried the time code there, but what we're looking at is through the day tomorrow, and some of that comes down into Oklahoma City that we were just talking about there during the middle of the day. Even a little bit back to the west along I-40, I think they're looking for a little bullseye there, maybe 4 or 5 inches near Clinton and in that area south of Woodward. Where it looks most likely for that to take place. But some of the National Weather Service offices, I'd love to see what they are saying. Dodge City, Kansas has that little purple area there. Where it's the counties in purple where the winter weather advisory is. Winter weather advisory. When you blow it, you just keep going. Slippery road conditions. There's some blowing snow from time to time. Brett, just kind of the first thing to happen this year, basically, when you look at it.
Oh yeah, and those areas out there are really flat, so it's really easy for the cold air to entrench in those flatter areas. There's not much in the way of trees to block that cold air at the surface to come down. So the ground's really going to cool off rapidly. So it's not going to take much to cause accumulations out there in this part of the world.
Yeah, and you look at it again, estimated snowfall totals from Amarillo. They're looking for a little bit there into the panhandle, 2 to 3 there in some isolated areas. I mean, it's really hard to say exactly where, but even 3 to 4 from Guyman, Boise City, all the way up to the north as you get into the southern sections of, the panhandle of Oklahoma, actually, by this point. And then you look at some of these conditions all the way up. I think this is going to be the advisory coming out of somewhere that I just blew off there. But Tulsa, Oklahoma. Looking for a little bit of snowfall there as well. These temperatures are going to fall. Less than an inch or so is expected in some of these areas here. Little Rock, looking for some snow again, about the same places up into the northwestern part of the state, Brett.
Yeah, that area where there's a little bit more terrain, you see more snowfall in those areas. It's easier for that cold air to get down into that particular part of the world before it really gets down into the Ozarks. So mostly rain from Little Rock into the south. If you're gonna see snow, you're gonna have to go northwest of Russellville over toward Fayetteville, Mountain Home, up those areas.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night is most likely where you're going to see some snowflakes.
Not really a snow for the Denver area, but it is going to be for the southwestern part. A little Colorado low here, but it's pretty far off a southerly directory coming out of that region. And again, moving on across, the southwesterly flow is pretty evident. We've seen it on our images here over the past 6 to 8 hours on satellite imagery. So kind of what we're expecting there. And as we move along, you'll still see the cold air is entrenched coming in out of the north. We got a little bit of I don't want to say a true Arctic thing just yet. I don't know exactly. I didn't really follow the trail that well, Brett, but I know it is coming in out of the north and moving on eastward across the rest of the country. And this was something I think you wanted to talk about. Here's 6 to 10, and I think you have even some beyond. And I even drew in my own adjectives here. Lean in below, likely below, and yeah, it's below. Right there.
Yeah, that's kind of the case. I mean, we're going into November here with very cooler than average conditions, troughing over a big section of the country, and even beyond this time frame, you go out to the 14 to 16-day time period, we're still dealing with some below normal conditions. So this is something the next couple of weeks, it's going to be below normal, and it's likely to continue to be below normal as we go forward.
Yeah, kind of got that northerly flow now for a while. I wouldn't expect to be outside, sunning and sunbathing anytime soon up into the, at least the interior. Now, the Gulf of Mexico is always a different story here. Now, I know you have some information here, too. We're also talking about the modeling. Actually, what you had was the same thing I just showed, was it not?
It was,
Okay,
it
good.
was. So we can kind of stick with what we're doing now. I do have a little bit of information. I don't want to step back too much, but I'm going
Yeah.
to give you a little info from Nicole that we were talking about. We were asking about peak wind gusts. So this is really cool. At the Kennedy Space Center, they have wind instrumentation atop of all their towers.
Yeah.
So they had Tower 3 that reported a peak wind gust of 100 miles per
No
hour.
kidding.
Tower 2, 98, Tower 6 Northwest, 91, Tower 110 Northwest, 90, and then Tower 1 North, 89. So they're at Kennedy. Those are a couple hundred feet off the ground, though, based versus
Oh,
surface
okay.
wind gust. So yes, they had some gusts there that exceeded right at a 100-mile-per-hour wind gust. I don't think down on the surface level though that we really saw anything quite that high, because per NASA 86 at the surface, 87 we start having problems, and the rocket withstood that, so
Yeah.
it did not tip over, thankfully, and it lived to see another day. And it launches this week, a matter of fact. If
Yeah.
there was
Well,
some
that's
minimal
good.
damage, and the expectations are, I think, a Wednesday launch, the 16th.
All right. Well, let's talk about some modeling here. This is the GFS. You can see at the bottom of the screen there, GFS. This is from 18Z today, and we're looking at verification here as we move along of what is the P-type here. And Brett, we started out, I know what we were talking about here was what was happening back into the Colorado Rockies. Here's part of the low pressure coming on out. But if you move up through time and we go into the validity time here, 9 p.m. tonight, and then we're looking, let's just start out with 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. And you can see what's happening here. We've got some of that energy into the cold air now.
Right, you can see that that energy is coming in, and now you've got some lift. So we're seeing some of that snowfall, probably going to develop from the southwest to the northeast. So areas over in eastern New Mexico are going to see it first, down southeast to Albuquerque, Santa Fe, and then it's going to spread up toward Dodge City, western Kansas, Garden City, and then you even see some of the heavier activity. What's going to happen is the moisture being pumped up from the south there across Texas is going to do what we call overrunning up into the cold air. And that's typically where you can see some of the heavier totals right there at that battleground where warm meets cold, and the moisture is going to continue to stream into the cold air. If the cold air can hold on, you can get some pretty heavy snow and some heavier snow totals there. And some of our short range guidance shows that west of Oklahoma City on I-40.
Yeah, I'll try to go to that in just a minute. I don't want to blow all the little tags that I have down on the bottom. But all right, so this is going into the 9 a.m. hour. We move a little bit further along and go up to 3 p.m. now, and pretty much headed out west to east, clearing out, maybe not clearing out, but drying out in Amarillo, drying out in Guyman, and probably even Dodge City by this point, and some of that moisture starts to move on to the east. Do you believe that this little, I'm assuming this is a mix in the gray area? I'm not really sure what that is, but let's find out.
Yeah, I actually think that's a heavier snowfall. I don't think that there's going to be much in the way of a mix. I think it's either going to be heavy, big, wet flakes or rain.
Oh my gosh, I just got
Heavy, big, wet flakes or rainfall primarily. You're going to drive 5 miles south where it's snowing, and they're going to be in moderate rainfall down there along the Red River. So, I question exactly how far south the snow goes. I think the I-40 corridor might be a pretty good boundary line, maybe just a little bit to the south of there as you go further east. And then, precipitation timing is going to be important as we get into Arkansas. I think that ahead of this boundary that's moving in, you're also going to have some warm air fluxing northward. So, again, that warm air is really going to try to battle with the cold air. So, areas Little Rock South, especially, you're going to be dealing with primarily rainfall, it looks like, for this round.
Let me just see if I can include something like the her into this and still keep my, well, barely, precipitation type and the validity times here. And again, this is much higher resolution. We'd rather use this if we could into the short term because the resolution is quite a bit better. And
You can definitely see right there, David, like we were talking about, there's a little bit of a mix zone showing up on the her, but
yeah,
that gray, that's some of that heavier snow that's showing up there, and that's going to be probably those giant wet snowflakes like you would see in the deep south.
yeah, I love those. Let me get back over here, and actually, this is going to be the 0Z that just hasn't filled in yet, but it's kind of a mess there as it goes into the Ozarks on the western side, Fort Smith coming in on that western side, Fayetteville, all the way up into southern sections of Missouri, crossing over the Table Rock and Branson, and moving into southern sections of Missouri there. Let me slide this a little bit further onto the east so everybody can see what we are talking about. And again, we're talking about precipitation type here. This is the what is going to be snow or frozen is going to be in the blues and all those other types. The green is pretty easy to see. That is all rainfall. projected, albeit a cold rain, Brett.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Again, we talk about these systems where we're so close to the Gulf of Mexico, further south. There's really a battle due to the warm air that comes up off the Gulf. So you're probably going to have some spotty P type issues here. The higher elevations may be seeing snow across portions of northwest Arkansas, and then down lower elevations, maybe seeing rain. Those really heavy precipitation areas also are likely to be snow, and if it goes lighter, I've seen it several times, especially in upper level low type situations. This is something similar, where you're going to see it actually be rain because it's not precipitating hard enough.
Yeah, if you look at, I might have to switch this for just 1 second because it was showing, it wasn't filling in there. But here's what we've got. Let me go back an hour here and take a look at like 22Z, what happens there. It didn't fill in all the way. The model did not fill in all the way. Still is only going out a few hours there. Nonetheless, you get what we're talking about, which is mainly that the precipitation type is going to be like that. Let's see if it'll actually give us some sort of a snowfall in a 1 to 10, although it's not really going to be 1 to 10. Ratio is going to be really tough here.
1 to 6, 1 to 8,
Yeah,
likely with these type of thermals.
yeah, really, really tough here.
But you can see where that heavier precip is. It's trying to paint a swath of snow that could exceed 3-4 inches there from Elk City down toward Lawton. Now, I don't know if that's the exact zone where that's going to set up. That could be closer to the Oklahoma City area. So these are really, really tough due to the issues with the cooling. So that's going to be something that has to be watched really and truly throughout the early morning tomorrow to see where this band really sets up.
Yeah, that's going to be negotiable too through the day tomorrow. Um, somebody's probably going to get all the water. I guess the ground is probably fairly warm at this point in some of those areas. It's not too terrible. I can kind of clean that up a little bit. But what we're looking at here again, let's go and take a quick look at the NAM, Brett's favorite model, and see what's happening here with this. This is from 18Z again, so it really hasn't filled all the way in, but pretty much the same story overall is what we're looking at is on the western side. And it doesn't take things too far to the east at this point, but they're
That's where the thermal issues in the afternoon
yeah,
may overcome, and then you start to see a change back over into the evening and overnight into the northern Washita Mountains and north of the Ozarks there.
yeah. A little bit of a different situation taking over right there. Let's go back to the GFS if we can and take a look here at the overall, what we're looking at, and go ahead and take a look at where our precipitation is going again. A P type, I think, is pretty important here when we start talking about all this precipitation type. Now, as it goes on to the east, we are looking for, again, a rain situation to take place, albeit a cold rain that'll be coming in, moving across the rest of western Tennessee, it looks like, as we move through time. Now, the breakdown is going to be, or the rain snow line is going to be somewhere a little bit further to the north here. It looks like around the Ohio River at the moment, Brett.
It definitely does. Again, as it continues to move east, that low pressure area is going to hook off toward the north. That's going to pull warmer air at the surface with it as it continues to move in that direction. I mean, right now, it's near 50 degrees in southwest Kansas in the Oklahoma Panhandle, so there's still a way to go as the surface low develops further to the west. So that's pulling the cold air down on the backside of that low. We're going to see precip wrap around and be thrown into that further west. And then that's going to continue to develop, move off toward the east, and then more of the northeast track after it crosses through Arkansas, the Boot Hill, Missouri, and up along the Ohio River Valley. And
Maybe
then
even
you
a little,
just got a big
yeah,
mess.
maybe even a little bit over here in eastern West Virginia, southern Pennsylvania by that point too. As we get into this, is going to be Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, that's just going to be a mess. And on the backside, you can kind of see there the GFS is a lower resolution model, but you can see back there, there's even some snow coming off the lakes potentially, it looks like back there, because that wind shift's going to turn around. I think you're going to see some
Yeah,
lake effect
yeah,
actually transition and kick in after the low passes by.
yeah. It looks like on the east side of the lakes there, or maybe even on the south side. Maybe like a Gary thing here. If you look at it, South Bend Gary
Yep.
thing. Uh,
South Bend and Gary, that band will shift around as the wind shifts off the lake there because the lakes are still going to be very warm right now.
super warm.
Um, what I mean, I would assume lake temperatures there probably in the 50s. at this point in time. So there's plenty of lake water to get the lake effect going.
Have we got buoy data up there that might tell us that?
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Dave's
Let's see what the
somewhat
lake temps
smart.
are there.
49.
49. Okay. That's still, if you've got 2020s blowing across there and then 850 temps well below zero, that'll get some lake effect going.
Yeah, let's see. What else we got? 51.
52, 51.8.
Yep,
Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll get some lake effect going.
yep. So we'll be looking out for this as we move along, and this is again on a Wednesday here. We'll probably do another update to let you know about more specifics about how much is expected there, especially if we really get this thing cranking and that fetch gets to be just right. And moving on to the east. That's all rain in Philadelphia. Looks like down to Washington, D.C., along the Atlantic seaboard, throughout the rest of the Atlantic seaboard. That's all going to be rainfall there, too. You'll get some rain in what was thought, Brad. I think you and I both are, at least I was thinking there might be some severe weather with this to begin with, but still we're kind of hugging the coast here as far as the instability goes and not seeing a whole lot of that climb further north.
Yeah, it's having a hard time. We've got a little bit further south low pressure track, and it's pretty well develops down along the coastline there, right outside of Houston, Lake Charles area. And that's where your low pressure kind of slides east and then north with the upper level system. But it really is a very small area where you could, have some activity. But see there, even your most intense cells on the modeling are staying, just south of the
Yeah,
shoreline. So, a couple water spouts, tornado warning or two down along the immediate coastline, I guess is possible.
a little Bowie there.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get some of those type of segments, but I guarantee you, based on what I was seeing, it looks like the temperatures are really low with this frontal passage, and it just reinforces our cold air. Right now, we're in the 30s here in Central Alabama, and under a freeze warning for tonight. So that's going to be one of those things that we likely just don't have enough juice to cause any problems when that comes through.
Yeah. All right, so there we are again. We're kind of getting just now beginning to get some of the zero Z stuff in from a few of the models. The Her would be first off because it's doing it as we speak. It's 73% complete, but it's not out to 46 hours just yet. And nonetheless, we'll go back to the GFS and sort of go from there and go through the rest of the time period here, which once again looks like that storm system moves off the coastline. And when it does so, we end up stop. We end up with a trailing area down here into the Bay of Campeche and beyond. We'll always watch this area, and then yet again, be very cyclical for us sometimes, and we'll get in this kind of a mode. And here we go again. This is going to be Saturday, a week from now,
Yep.
as we get into Saturday morning. Is it another round a little further south?
It's like train cars on a set of railroad tracks. They literally continue to ride through that area where the tracks are laid, and that's kind of what we got right now. We got system after system that's been doing that. I think on the models I saw, our last several systems have been like this. It's just been a little bit warmer,
A
even with
little
the
too warm.
Texas tornado event.
Yeah.
It was a system that really rode through Texas and Oklahoma and then went into the Arkansas area and ejected out. We're just starting to see cooler air now come down with these systems, and the next two or three, they're on that same set of tracks.
Yeah, this is next Saturday. We're out to 153 hours now on the GFS. That gets squashed a little bit, it looks like, down into the Gulf of Mexico, but right there on the ready is more moisture coming north. At this time, the axis is a little bit further on to the east, which gets over and starts bringing up more moisture across the eastern sections of Texas back into northern Mississippi, Alabama. And I don't like this, Brett, being an Alabamian. That looks like a prolonged period of some heavy rainfall that we don't like to get during the winter months.
Yeah, it definitely could be, and
Ooh,
I'll tell you something else
tell me,
I don't
Brett.
particularly care for. Um, those 6 to 14 day charts that we showed you below normal here in November, they're good and they're bad. They're good because we typically don't see a lot of severe weather when we're seeing that type of a temperature
Right.
event across the East Coast. Now, for me, I don't like it cold this early in the season because it usually damages our snow chances for whatever reason. It seems like we don't get cold later in the season, and I like snow. If anybody knows that, knows me, they know I like snow, and we just don't seem to get it if we get really early season cold.
I always tell a story, Brett, about me and you picking our kids up and driving. Is really we were going to go as far as we could go. Was 22 around? I-22 around at that point? I mean, for us to go up that far, or was it
I think it was
78?
called I think it was called Future 22 at that point. I don't
Future.
think it was completed, but we went up that road, and I think we were at the farthest northwest we could go before exiting the state of Alabama before we got into any kind of snow.
But we're
But
dedicated fathers, and we wanted our kids to see snow. It had nothing to do with us wanting to see snow. It's I wanted my kids to see the snowfall. And I still have some great pictures from doing that. But yes, we both do. And I just moved back to Alabama from being out in Denver, Colorado for the last 10 years, where it can you sneeze and it snows. I say that, and I don't know. They've had one snow, I think, right now in Denver, but this is the snow season for Denver. Denver's snow season comes in March and April, believe it or not, when about twice a week it snows, and it can be a bucket load and then be 60 into the afternoon. It's the weirdest sort of climate you will ever see. I mean, it can snow one day and be into the 60s. Even in January, it can do that. The sun, you're up there a mile high already, so that gives you another 5,280 feet to be closer to the sun. So when it does come out, it warms you up pretty nicely. The coldest day I ever had probably was 50 degrees out at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, and it was sleeting. I was with meteorologist Patrick Core, and we were watching the Braves game there, and started sleeting at like 48 degrees. It's cold here in the South, even in the 40s when the dew point's high.
oh, absolutely, and people really don't believe, but you can see that if you've got a low enough dew point and you've got heavy enough precip coming over, you can see snow with temperatures in the upper 30s, low 40s, sleet as well, which is typically what we see, but I've seen snow in those occasions, depending on how cold it is aloft. People really don't understand how complex our atmosphere is.
No, and the big thing, a couple things I've learned about snow, being out there into the snow belt. Now, always here in the South, we used to say, big snow's coming for tomorrow, and people in general would say, the person, the backseat forecaster would say, oh, but the ground is too warm. We've had sunshine. That's baloney. That is baloney. I've seen it go from 60 degrees in Denver, Colorado, where the ground was warm, to like 50 and snowing hard and cover the roadways before it ever got to like 38 or 39. If it's snowing hard enough, and Brett has seen this, when the snow is coming down, it has no choice but for the next snowflake that's falling to land on it, and eventually it's going to cake up and make some sort of a surface. It just depends. I don't know if there is such thing. Now there's such a thing that it may not stay because the ground temperatures have been warm, but you even look at remember the big ice event? I was working over there at the Weather Channel in the ice event. We were having lunch, looking out the window, thinking that ain't gonna be much. But remember then, temperatures had been below freezing for days, even during the middle of the day. So the very first thing that fell from the sky was gonna stick. There's no doubt about it. Man, that was a mess. I walked home.
Flash freeze. I won't forget that one. That was I want to say that was 2014, and
Probably.
I literally called my kids' school before they left, and they told me that another personality here in Birmingham says it wasn't going to be too much, and
Yeah.
that didn't end up. In the Birmingham metro area, I want to say that the max they had was right around 2 inches, which
Yeah.
wasn't a big deal, except that it was 22 degrees and it stuck and froze to everything. So
Immediately.
we had, people trying to get to their kids, and then we literally that was the biggest gridlock disaster I want to say that I've ever seen. And then here at my house, I'm what 30 miles on Highway 280 south of Birmingham. We
Yeah.
had almost 6 inches of snow here because banding sets up, and we were at 24 degrees. So when we didn't climb above freezing like we were supposed to climb
True.
above freezing, once that precip sets in, you can drop. especially if it's a heavy wet snow. And that was one of the more prominent winter events that really, you know, that was a telltale where if it's already cold enough, it sticks. And then, as you mentioned earlier, I don't care if the road temps are 48 degrees, 50 degrees. If the snow's coming down in bucket loads,
Yeah.
it's going to stick,
Yeah.
and it's going to stick, and it's going to cool the ground rapidly. Some of it's got to melt, but it's definitely going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I said that like one time on TV when I was there in Denver, and the fellow Denver people just laughed at me, and they're like, "You just wait." Especially, when you just wait till we get a March or an April event when there's a lot of moisture. When it finally comes in up out of the Gulf of Mexico and comes northward. The Euro, this is the Euro. Don't have a whole ton of information with it, but it just goes to show you there's plenty of cold air there. These are temperatures that we're looking at, surface temperatures, and as you go through the period, that's in a Monday. Blues are going to be different colors. Look, folks, these are we're working with Radar Mega now. This is a brand new app that's sort of putting its stuff together here, and we're Brett and I both are going to be helping them out with some of the design here to sort of figure out how to make this a little bit more user friendly. But so much stuff is going on with this app, and we'll be doing that. You're looking at temperatures here at the moment, and the really cold stuff is going to be, according to the Euro, is still well up here to the north, Brett. In fact, we can go all the way over to the poles and sort of look what's going on here at the hole. I think we had an app. No, we don't.
You can absolutely see in this graphic the ridging that's taking place across Alaska, up there to the west of Alaska, and that's driving the cold air basically down into the lower 48.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot going on up there. But you can see the ridging that's going on into Alaska, and that's going to be sort of that's going to shift the warm air a little bit further northward toward Alaska. And normally, when it's warm in Alaska, that means it's cold here. We've driven the cold air out of Alaska. When it starts to get really, really cold in Alaska, it starts to warm here. But that's also our little refrigerator. Alaska's our refrigerator. And every once in a while, when it's really, really cold up there, you open up the door to let it come down. It comes down through western or central sections of Canada, and then it can come down into the eastern half. But like you said, it's all kind of tied together here. Got some really warm, moist air down to the south here as well. And the troughing is definitely into the eastern half of the country as you look at it here.
Right. That's going to be the continuing story, I believe, considering that everything forecast wise shows below normal for the next several weeks, even. So, no surprise that Alaska's a bit warm. And even though they're warm, they're still under a winter storm warning. So they're
Yeah,
not that warm.
not that warm. Well, let's just look again, see if the GFS is sort of in the same agreement here. We get a
Well,
little bit more detail, huh?
one of the things I guess we can touch on for a minute. It's going to be irrelevant to the cold air here, but for the first time that I can remember in the last month and a half, 2 months, there's no tropical activity forecast for the next 5 days in the Atlantic.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's very true, which would almost get us to the end of the season here. We're at November the 13th, November the 30th. You can see, though, and I don't know if I've got a good depiction of water temperatures out in, well, we've got the marine stuff. Let's look at the buoy stuff. It's still a little bit warm down here into the Caribbean. I know a couple of these models we had 80. See, there's still 83 degrees down here at 42:59, which is just to the south of San Juan. And some of these aren't working. I think you're gonna have to go out there and fix those, but low
Let's
latitude
drop
stuff.
some. We need to drop some sail drones, and we need those embedded into the app now.
Yeah, so we got 85 here over into the western part of the Caribbean, south into the Yucatan Straits there, if you will. In the Gulf of Mexico, right out there dead into the middle, we still have 80. So it's borderline.
Yeah, I'm pulling the. Now that you
Borderline.
mention that, I'm pulling the viewer here. I want to see what the depths are. Yeah, down in the loop current of the Gulf of Mexico, there's still some pretty warm water, and then as you would expect on the Gulf Stream, the East Coast and the Caribbean's probably the hottest place on the planet right now, water wise, south of Cuba, the Dominican, out in that area, it's warm there. But as we get up toward our shoreline now, off the East Coast and the northern Gulf of Mexico, our temperatures are dropping, very into the actual low 20 degrees Celsius numbers, which is pretty insane. So we're starting to cool off quite a bit.
All right, B, you got any questions we can take care of? We got about 10 more minutes here, at least for what we sort of promised we would do for tonight. As far as any questions go, we may have a few here and there if you're not watching the big premiere of whatever that show is.
Let's see. Let's see what we've got. So one good point was made. On a real note, the Mississippi River Basin could still use any water that it can get because it is very, very low. That's a very good point by one of the viewers, and I will agree with that. Hopefully, we don't deal with any kind of flash flooding, but we can certainly put some water in that basin to keep filling it up because it's way down there still. Let's see. Okay, on the modeling we were looking at, are the blues, are they so the blues, the heavier snow, or the gray? I believe the gray on our scale was heavier. The blue and the gray were both snowfall, though, that was showing up across Kansas, the Texas, and Oklahoma panhandles into western Oklahoma later tonight and into tomorrow morning. That stripe that was in the gray there west of Oklahoma City, I think along that 40 corridor was very heavy snow based on what the model was showing. That's a good idea, David.
I
Can
have a
we
good
look
idea.
can we look a little bit deeper at the forecast for the launch Wednesday for the Artemis rocket?
Yeah, let's do that. It's Wednesday,
It is Wednesday.
so
It
we
is Wednesday.
probably want to
Let's
go
see.
with an AM. Does an AM get us out that far?
Let's see. It's Wednesday morning, I believe. So I mean, yeah, it should.
Yeah.
It should get us out that far.
Let's see.
You know what? I don't think it's going to be good because I know the front comes through here on Tuesday afternoon. I bet that's not. Oh, excuse me. It's at 1 a.m. Tuesday morning, 1:04 a.m.
On Tuesday morning?
Or excuse me, Wednesday morning, right after midnight, Tuesday, 1:04 a.m.
That doesn't get us that far. Gets us to, well, it gets us to midnight.
See, there's the front. You can
Yeah,
kind of
there's
see
the
the wind
front.
shift. Oh, that's gonna be
Be a
close.
close call, wouldn't it?
Be a close call. You got your front running from Jacksonville to Gainesville there. You can see it, that thin line of convection there. It's going to bring, but the winds are going to increase ahead of that too, Dave. Can we look at surface winds there or wind gusts there ahead of that front? I don't know if we can.
Oh. That's 850, but it doesn't really give us.
A good depiction of the surface there. Yeah, because that shifts way off to the north. But that's a good sign that the 850s are really weak. So
That'd be a close
maybe
call. I mean, that's a tough one right now. I know that they're looking at. Let's look at the 12 and see if we go. The 12K is not going to be tons different, but
yeah.
Again, not the 0.
Oh, I see what you were looking at on the 3K. Our modeling is just now coming in for the 0Z here within the app. So it's going to take a minute for that to load up. Okay, the 0Z is out far enough on the 12K, though.
Yeah, that's where we are right now. Well,
gotcha.
Thought we were. Come on, darling. Load up for me here.
Yeah, it's giving me it's having fits, it seems like.
Drew. Let's give a shout out to Drew, by the way. Drew's Drew has a family member. His wife is not feeling well, and we were just wanted to know that we're thinking about her. Thought about her a lot during the day today, and sent him a couple of letters. Drew's with Radar Omega. Drew was on with us a couple of times a few nights ago, and sort of our liaison. And we just want you to know that we're thinking about you, Drew, you and your family. And Brett told me about it, so without divulging a lot of personal information, we're both thinking about you, and I know Brett is as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always rough when you got somebody that's going through some things. So, uh, get well, and we'll talk to you here really soon. But we're taking a look at the weather situation there for the coast now. David, looks like winds are relatively less than 10 knots, at least on the short range stuff that I've been able to pull up here. So maybe if the frontal boundary does not speed up, maybe they'll be okay for the launch. But it's going to be close. It's going to be very close.
That would be, yeah, I agree. Let's just break away here for just a second and go to the National Weather Service and see what they got to say down there. Jeez, because this is oh yeah, let's do it this way, Dave.
There you go.
Well, that's a pretty graphic. They didn't even tell us they had a nice, pretty graphic tonight, but that's a nice one there. It's cooler weather, and there's the front. Cooling down behind the front tonight. But let's talk about, I want to look at, if we can here graphically, and see what's happening. So this gets us out to Tuesday and then Wednesday. That's midnight's the furthest one over there, isn't it, B?
Yeah.
Can you tell?
Yeah.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
I can't see.
Yeah, actually.
But I think the gray area here on the right-hand side is midnight. So obviously it does go up. The wind is they're saying that is frontal passage. That's going to be Monday into Tuesday. South wind before the next front comes by, I guess, which would be right about there, right at the end of that. I'm sorry.
It really looks like that they're not expecting
not
expecting a ton there.
They did go with precip potentials kind of low.
Yep. I mean, they don't expect too much there, and which I kind of agree with that.
I'll always give them the benefit of the doubt. That's why I went there. Let's see.
Actually, hold on, Dave. There we go.
There's 1 a.m.
1 a.m. There you go. Southwest winds 5 knots, 3 knots. That's about right. Now the humidity's going up there because the frontal boundary's coming in. It looks like they're thinking the rain chances there are going to be closer to 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So
maybe we work that out all together there, and maybe that'll hold off. Maybe the precip will hold off till that goes on by. I don't know what the wind threshold is, the peak that they can't handle or they don't like to try, but nonetheless.
It looks like that there's a good shot that it'll get completed. That'll be great though. I know it's been a headache after dealing with Nicole, and then the frustration of worrying about the rocket because it had to stay on the launch pad during that. So I know they're ready to get that thing out of there as quick as they can.
Yeah.
But let's see if we got anything else here. Any more questions? I'm gonna give it another 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll go from there.
It's now 8 o'clock in Alabama. I got 34 degrees here at my house. Let me see. No, I don't. Oh, my gosh. I got 28 at my house. This is a big difference, Brett. So the airport has 34 degrees. I got a little hole here at my house. I got 28 degrees right now on Wills Creek, Big Wills Creek.
Pretty crazy how big of a difference there is there. You're in one of those more radiationally cooled spots, I feel like, away from any of the interstate traffic there.
Yes. I don't really know what it is statewide, but we'll be soon. This stuff will populate for us, folks. I know we're kind of showing you some blank stuff here at the moment, but this is all part of what is happening here with the long term and the Radar Amigo product, and we're going to be moving along and even if you'd like to send us some ideas, we'll pass them along. There's so much information here that's provided on this app that you can see we just went through it, but I don't know it by heart very well. I've looked at it a ton, but just from watching everything at the moment, or over the last couple of days, I don't know it all by heart, and there's just a ton of stuff. You can see it over here. Maybe we'll do a tutorial here one day and sort of go through it piece by piece. I think I've looked at everything once or twice.
Yep.
But here's a winter weather product. This is for ice or probability of 4 inches of snow. Well, that's there. I think that's.
It looks like a chunk of North Alabama is starting to drop into the at least around 30. I think Huntsville's at 30 now. And into the 20s. We're headed to the 20s.
Well, I don't have anything else to say. Except I'm
what
hungry.
breed of chicken is Penelope says?
She's a Rhode Island Red. Listen, she's a Rhode Island Red. She's like at the top of her class. She's at the top of her weight class. I mean, I think everybody and their brother feeds her. All my neighbors here, they're so kind to her. They feed her too. She has a certain kind of worm that she eats, but she is top of the line. A Rhode Island Red. When I found her, she was skin and bones. Really, she I don't know how much longer she would have made it. I know the guy that kind of walked up and said, "Is that your chicken?" He had dinner on his mind, so I'm pretty sure I saved her from a fate that she would rather not go through. And in return, Brett, in payment, up until like 3 days ago, that chicken was laying 2 eggs a day. She'd lay one before daylight, and she was laying another one about 4 o'clock into the afternoon. So she was being very respectful. And they're delicious eggs. I'm telling you, they're better than regular eggs. They're brown eggs. She's a good chicken. I would have brought her up. I didn't know it was going to be this slow.
Well, that's excellent, David. We are all very.
You did not. You can count it. It counts, but you probably shouldn't have done it. But
probably not.
It counts.
But I mean, you're the one that said Penelope was at the top of her weight class, so I'm trying to figure out if that's a good or bad thing.
Oh, she's chunky, man. She looks like there was a cartoon when I was a kid. I don't know if it was Foghorn Leghorn or whatever it was, the cartoon it was, but there was this chicken that comes out and it looks like it's on steroids. Penny looks like she's been doing steroids. She's got this chest that sticks out, and especially now when she runs up to one of my cats and she wants to be dominant to one of the cats, she stands on her tiptoes, if that is such a thing with a chicken. She stands up so she can be a little taller, and she pokes her chest out like that and frightens them to death. Kind of scares me. I've
got her a new nickname then. It makes total sense. She said roids, pokes her chest out, kind of shorter, wants to be taller. Let's just call her Mark McGuire.
We could do that. We could call her Mark McGuire.
Redbird.
She's a little bit of a. Okay. She's a little bit like Mark McGuire. I thought you were gonna mention somebody that we know, like Logan or somebody like that.
Well, Logan's hair looks quite like a chicken. It's usually sticking up. He's got her. She might want to learn a lesson or two from Logan on the hairstyle.
Where is Logan? He's dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, he went to work for the feds, so we really don't talk to Logan very much anymore. He's Secret Service or something now.
Somebody used to have Rhode Island Red chickens here. Natural bedhead. Yeah. I would bring her up, but I don't feel like cleaning up after her tonight. The other night I had her up here in 3 separate times. It got really warm on my back, and I'm pretty sure there's still some on my shoe. Hold on.
Anyway. I would hope that you've cleaned your shoes since, buddy.
Brett?
But, I don't even want to know. No, Dave.
These are my slippers, but
I don't condone Dave's sanitary behavior, just so everybody can get that.
Dude, I know people who pay lots of money for chicken crap.
Well, jar it up and sell it on eBay or
Well,
Etsy or something.
I could. You
You
don't know
you
how
really
many
could.
people want shirts. Sharon's making shirts right now.
Well, I mean, and people like feet pics too, so you ought to take some pictures of of her paws. Stick them online,
Did you
Dave.
just say people like feet pics?
Well, I mean, you're showing off your shoe, not me.
Oh, people like
Anyway,
feet. Really? Is that a
ah,
thing? Is that
I mean, I
seriously a
don't
thing?
know. I don't know. I don't know. Hey, well, I mean, look, I mean, people sell those spurs off those chickens as keychains too. I mean, Penny's not gonna appreciate that. Don't ever let her little eyes see that mess. But you could take pictures of her feet, I think, or claws or talons and sell 'em. I mean,
People like feet pic.
Dave after
Okay.
dark. Dave after
I'm
dark.
probably not probably not as wise as you are to what people like on the
Oh no,
internet.
I'm not privy. I mean, it's just unfortunately you see this kind of stuff on Twitter all day long. That's the reason I quit using it recently. All right. All right. $8.99 will get you verified. That's all I can say right now.
Is it $8.99 now?
$8.99.
Man,
Eight ninety
I don't have
nine.
$8.99. I mean,
Let's
just
see if we've got anything else, because the Lord knows that I probably don't even need to talk about anything else. Let's see, what did I miss? Oh Lord, feet pics. I can't I can't with you two tonight. You're about to kill David. Whatever makes the moolah. Killer's opinion. Well, what a name you have there. Let's see. Oh, hey, somebody had a great idea, David, for a second business for you. Onlychickens.com.
Is there a site?
I don't know. I don't know.
Shoot.
Penny might have problems with that. I think she's on Farmers Only already.
Oh my god. Now I got a headache. I
Do
got a
you? My bad.
terrible, terrible headache. That hurt.
I do. I, guys, I'm sorry. The forecast went from cool and calm to smelly and nasty, apparently, from what I'm understanding these days on the picture side here. I mean excuse me, the graphical side.
Oh.
Anyway,
I
let's see.
can't. I just can't.
Our
I would
eggs
go
are
get her right
expensive.
now if I thought.
Eggs are expensive at the grocery store, David.
Yeah, they are. They were supposed to go up to like $10 a carton. But somehow an egg. What was it? An egg farm. One of the major egg farms burned or something about 6
Well,
months ago, and they were saying that they were going to go way up.
well, there were a couple of the big hen houses that burned in
Was
South
it burned?
Carolina a couple
Was it
weeks
burned?
ago.
And they were major. I mean, like they were supplying a large part of the eastern half of the nation because they did tell me that her eggs were going to be, pretty popular here pretty
Gold
soon.
standard type.
Yeah.
Oh, bird flu hit millions of chickens too. Oh wow, that's right. That was up in Iowa, right?
Yes.
I remember that too.
That's why I couldn't let Penny go outside for a while there because she would run to the bird feeders. My neighbors have bird feeders, and so they would, the birds they not wearing diapers or anything, so they go on the ground. Well, Penny would go over there and mess around on the ground, so I had to keep her in the cage for a month or two, and now I don't just let her go in those places anyway. The bird flu's, I think it's probably still around. Penny's the most well-kept chicken you've ever seen. She sleeps. She comes in at dark. I mean, she knew the time change. She knows everything, and she comes to the front door, and she'll peck on the door, and I let her in, and she'll just go and crawl into her little area and go to sleep. Um, I mean, perfectly at night. Hold on a second.
I'm sure she's roosting right now with this type of
She
temperature going on outside. Are you okay?
trying to hide her feet.
Man, you need to leave my 3-piece and a biscuit alone. She's
She's down there right now. She says they're talking about my feet. They want my feet.
Let's see what. Hold on. Let's see here.
The next time I go to get her in her cage, she's just gonna be like chest out. Like,
was there an egg explosion? I mean, that was a legit question. I mean, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I think there was. There probably was.
Let's see. Oh, let her make eggs before she becomes a 3-piece special.
A 3-piece special.
Yeah. Original or extra crispy is the question, Dave.
Yeah.
Original or extra crispy?
I don't. You're almost crossing a line here, bro.
Guys, the weather's calm, cool, and collected when we're here discussing chicken feet.
Look,
and
give me 15 seconds.
Well, we've all been waiting on you to breathe.
It's 8:12. Just give me 15 seconds.
David had to leave, folks, unfortunately, as you can hear in the background. He's either choking or dying. I'm not sure which yet, but we'll soon find out. Stay with us for the next 15 seconds, as Dave says, to find out. I bet he's going to get Penny so that he can give you guys some of those extra special feet videos, and you don't have to pay for those right here on the YouTube channel. But let's see what else you guys have. Let's see. No, we don't cross lines here because we don't have them. We are your run-of-the-mill weather network that has no red tape. I bet he did. Oh, he probably did. You got to get the chicken out of the hen house, or either you got to take the hen to the bathroom, one or the other. Here he comes. I hear him coming back. There he is. He can breathe again. There she is. Look at that. Look at that. Is that Logan or is that Penny? That's Logan.
Oh. All right, Penn. Say hey. Don't fly.
Wow.
We're not flying.
She heard you talking trash downstairs.
When I got down there, her feet were underneath her. She was like, "Don't look at my feet."
She's about to Mike Tyson you. There they are. Look at those beautiful tusks coming out of her legs.
There's a good girl.
There you go. She got to oversee the situation now.
Oh, wow. You still there?
There she is.
She looks good up against the background. Hey,
yeah.
So there, you got something to say?
Yeah, she looks a little angry.
He was asleep.
She looks a little angry.
Good girl. Oh, she wants back to sleep. Look at her. Oh, my hat.
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give we're gonna send eggs to new members.
Can we do that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we can either do that or we're gonna have to send them a hoof or a claw or something. I don't know. We're gonna maybe a coupon for a 3-piece and a biscuit.
Yeah, you're getting carried away, B.
She looks a little tired.
She was dead asleep when I just got her.
Yeah,
look at her. She wants to go to sleep.
Right on your shoulder.
Yep.
Well, let's see if anything else seriously is out there. Warm front. Oh Lord, never mind. Let's don't do that. Um, Everybody likes your chicken. Everybody likes Penny.
Well, how can you not like Penny? Penny's got a great story. I mean, she was almost a dead chicken. I picked her up, and she's been treated like royalty ever since. She is about to fall asleep. She's never fallen asleep on camera before. She's normally
Right.
doing stuff. She gets all her shots. She's well taken care of. You think? Can you say something? She's gone. Yeah, good night, girl.
Yep. Yep. She's yeah, I see. It's about her bedtime.
She's out. Penny.
Well, northern Missouri gets snow on Tuesday. There's gonna be a zone across central Missouri.
Didn't look
Late
like
tomorrow night into Tuesday, there's probably gonna see some snow. Couple inches of snow possible there as that thing moves toward the north and east.
it didn't look like it got way far north though, did it?
No, it's pretty tight right there on the back side of the low pressure, so it's a pretty thin band. It starts to kind of expand a little more as it gets up toward the Ohio River there. But I think there's a time period where we saw in eastern Oklahoma the precip really got cut off until it started to kind of redevelop, or either it started to change back over to some snow going into later tomorrow night. But moisture might be outrunning the cold air by that point in time too. So it's a little bit of snow there across portions of central Missouri. Man, she's a little. I don't know if she's ticked. I know she's tired, but she might be ticked too.
I think she's just tired. She's got much older. Look, this is her death grip. Night going to sleep grip where I'm
Yeah.
gonna hold on to whatever I got.
Yep.
Good. All right.
But in terms of questions about weather, I mean, we got plenty of questions about Penny, but weather
There's no
questions,
weather.
I think we're about out.
Yep.
Minor system, cool air comes back down. Another minor system toward the end of the week. That's kind of the gist of it right now. But we're trying to hang out here and do a little bit of forecasting, trying each night. And we usually get this going around 7 o'clock. We were a little bit late tonight,
My fault.
building a few things, but that's okay. But we'll try to do something around 7 o'clock every night, as long as we don't have any schedule issues. So if you want to see Penny and you want your friends to see Penny, I'll have a link. We'll send out a scheduled link for tomorrow, and then we'll go
We'll get some signed
we'll go further.
pictures or something.
Yeah, yeah. I tell you what, we got another question, but we're gonna have to research this one a little bit because it's a little bit further out. So you'll have to tune in tomorrow night. Somebody's asking, Brandon Jarvis asking thoughts on next spring.
Oh,
So
yeah, I got that. I
we have to
had it
look at
in my
some.
notes over here. I just didn't look at it very much today, so I didn't.
I tell you what, I'm gonna challenge David a little bit too. We're gonna look at Enzo since we're gonna look at next spring. We're gonna look at the winter as well and see what the depths of the winter looks like in terms of December, January, February time frame. See what it looks like in terms of the thermals and who might get who's going to get the big snow this year.
Okay. Let's do that. I'll be happy to. Oh no, we can't. Except can't. I'm sorry. Really, we shouldn't, should we? Beat me,
Let's
brother.
see.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's kind of it. I think that wraps us up for the evening.
You gonna wrap us up, or you want me to? I can barely talk, but I will.
I am meteorologist Brett Adair, along with
Yes.
meteorologist David Neal and Penny there holding the fort down and David's shoulder down. Stay with us. We'll be back with you at some point tomorrow evening for the forecast and the chicken show. See you guys later. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody. In 3, too.